it's Camille from Chicken Stretch and Sniff. Let's talk about the Come Follow Me for Individuals and Families Manual and how you might do it in your family, how you're going to put this program into action. We were just asked by our bishopric to try it out for a week and just kind of see what works and doesn't so that we can discuss it as a ward and give feedback as well and maybe some ideas. And so I wanted to do that with you guys too. You might not be in the same situation as me, so you will probably have to do things differently, but maybe you can get ideas of what works and what doesn't and what maybe you want to do with this thing. My family, we have 5 kids. My youngest is 7, my oldest is 14, so those are the types of activities that we ended up doing. But there's some great things that you can learn even if you're not in that situation, so keep listening, okay? The main thing that I learned, and that I really want to stress to you guys, is 1, don't be afraid to just jump in. You have to treat the first month at least as a trial and error. You're experimenting with something that is brand new to your family, it's brand new to me and my family, and we just don't know how it's going to go. We don't know if what we planned this week is going to be what we do the rest of the year, and that's okay because we're going to keep being flexible, keep trying things out, and deciding what actually works for us. So don't put all this pressure on yourself to have this great, perfect first lesson or first experience. Just go into it remembering that, some things are not going to go well. Sometimes it's going to be gnashing of teeth and weeping and wailing, right? But sometimes you're going to have those moments that are great and worthwhile, and it's the consistent moments that you put together that are really going to make that difference, whether it's for your individual study or whether it's with your family, okay? Also remember that the lesson that you do in December or the first week in January, it might be completely different than the way that you're going to end up doing things in July, because based on your schedules and what your kids are used to or what you yourself are used to is going to change as you go throughout the year. And so keep being flexible and deciding what the right thing is for your family, and realizing that it's okay to change and do more in July and do less, a smaller lesson in January, okay? The point is getting into the material and making it consistent and trying to get through, trying to continue a gospel discussion through the whole week and not just one time, okay? So what we decided, so the bishopric came over, they asked us to do this lesson. I made sure all my kids were in the room, so they all were on board, and they knew it wasn't just mom making them do something extra, okay? And the response was great. They were like, oh yeah, sure, we'd love to, we'll do that. And I told them, okay, so we're going to start on this day, so don't plan anything, we're going to do it. And they were like, yeah, sure, that'll be great. Okay, so of course, when the first time comes around to actually do it, like we just talked about and everybody just agreed to, there was weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth, I don't want to do it right now. Okay, but this is what we agreed on. I don't care, it's that type of thing, right? And that's to be expected. I think everybody that was asked to do it this past week experienced the same thing. The first lesson, you're gonna meet opposition, and that's what we ended up talking about, because part of taking responsibility for your learning is also understanding what's gonna get in your way of that. And so we talked about how there's opposition in all things, and there's gonna be times when we don't want to do it. We want to go watch a movie instead, or we want to go to bed, or we have too much homework to do and we don't want to make time for this. And that's going to happen sometimes, because guess who's going to be fighting against us? Guess who we're fighting a battle against, even though we're here on earth and not just fighting that battle up in heaven. And so we talked about how Satan is real and how he doesn't want us to study these things. And so there is going to be opposition. And so we talked about also things that we are going to do no matter what to fight back and to win our battle against Satan, even though we don't really want to do it that day or something. And so that's where this printable were up for you on the blog about the family agreement. And so it's in the top it says, in order to better study the New Testament this year, we agree to. And so we came up with our things. We said, okay, no matter what, we're going to do a mini lesson on these days at this time, no matter what. And if we do it more, great. But if we don't, we have these times, okay? And then we talked about, okay, so in our family, I want them to read the New Testament assignments on their own every week for their personal study, because the first lesson is all about taking responsibility for your personal study. I felt for our family that was the right choice, and so we talked about that, and we agreed that we would read the Book of Mormon for our family scripture study. But we also said, hey, you know what, we don't mind reading with you if that's what you want to do. If you want us to read out loud to you that New Testament chapter, that's fine, but you just have to ask us and take that responsibility, okay? And so, that's what works for us. And so we talked about, even if we're grumpy, we're going to come and we're going to just do it. And we agreed to keep trying, and then everybody signed it. And so we're hanging this up in our home and hoping that no matter what, we'll keep trying, we'll keep fighting, and we'll win our battle against Satan, and we'll keep studying the gospel of Jesus Christ. So that was our first experience. And it was crazy, but we did it, right? And so then what we decided also, was we ended up saying, okay, Dad's going to teach this lesson, and then I wanted my 2 oldest girls who were in Young Women's to teach a lesson as well, because they were going to give feedback with the youth. And so I wanted them to have that experience. But I also know their youth. And so I said, okay, I will be the backup for this person, and Dad, you'll be the backup for this person, because we wanted to make sure it was going to happen no matter what, and so we wanted to have a backup. And it turned out to be a really good thing. So I will keep going and telling you how the next time went. So the next time comes, I reminded my husband that he was in charge of the little lesson that night. And he was like, but wait, I've already made a meeting for right after work, and I'm not going to be home until such and such time. And I said, well, this is the time that we agreed upon. So it was our first time that we came across this time where we could easily push it back and easily not make room for it. But he was so great about it. He rearranged his meeting and went after and made our family time, study time, a priority. And I so appreciate that. And I hope that when the same thing happens to me, that's what I will do. I will choose to make a priority and rearrange everything else. And that was the other thing that I learned is you can't plan Come Follow Me into your week. You have to plan Come Follow Me. You have to plan your week around Come Follow Me. And so you have to make those things stick and stick to them no matter what, because it's so easy to push things aside. And once you push it aside the first time, it's that much easier to push it aside the second time. So you really just have to make that commitment and make those things stick. And so that night it went better. There was still a little bit of complaining, but after they realized that the first time wasn't so long, I think they were expecting these hour-long lessons, and it was 10-15 minutes, they got a little bit more open to it. And so we had a short lesson. It was great. It was a good conversation. It wasn't perfect. There was still some whining, but it went better, okay? So then the next time, our girls ended up being sick all week and miserable. And so they didn't plan their lesson because they were so sick and miserable. Understandable, but grateful we had a backup. But what we ended up doing is, after our Wednesday night lesson, we realized that we had a scheduling conflict with our next 2 plans that we had just made on earlier that week. And so what we did is we pushed it up instead of back, because we figured if we push it up, we're more likely to do it than if we pushed it back. And so we said, okay, you're supposed to teach this one tomorrow. Are you ready? They were like, no, I don't even want to, they were too sick. So back up me. I taught that one. And again, they were like, okay. They came together easier because they were like, okay, it's only going to be 10-15 minutes. That's fine. I can handle it. So they came, they did it with 5-10 minutes. I probably would have done it longer if I wasn't the backup, but it went well, and we talked about what we needed to talk about. Then again, their daughter was still sick, and so my husband taught that lesson. But what happened is it was supposed to be on Saturday, and we completely forgot. We just completely spaced it. There were so many things going on during the weekend, we just spaced it. And but we remembered that Saturday night, and so we said, okay, we're going to make it happen Sunday morning no matter what, because we want to do it before church. We want to get through all the things so we can have this feedback, right? And so came down Sunday morning. We ended up they were squabbling, so I got them together, all working on the service project that we were going to do later that day. And of course, service brings in the Spirit, and so what ended up happening is we were just around the table naturally preparing for the service project, and the conversation naturally went in the direction that it needed to go. So they started to talk about these flowers that we have in our house, and a plant that my son was growing for scouts and everything. And it was the perfect lead-in, you guys, to the parable of the sower. And so that lesson that day was completely informal. We just went based on the conversation that we were already having and just tied it right in. They didn't even know it was happening, but we had that gospel discussion, and it was great. Like, that was the one that I was like, okay, if we have more moments like these, it's going to be a great year. But I know not every single time is going to be like that. We're going to have the whining and the moaning and the grumbling, but we're also going to have these other moments that make it so magical and worthwhile, right? So remember that. You're going to have all of those experiences. Sometimes you're going to forget. Sometimes there's going to be grumbling. Sometimes it's going to be amazing. And that's the thing. I'm so excited. And I hope that we have more conversations that are more natural like that, so that it was easier to discuss the gospel. If you guys have questions or more ideas of things that might be helpful that I can provide on the blog, let me know. I know that it's going to be so different for everybody, but I hope you just jump into it and just try it. Mess up if you have to, but try it and see how it goes. All right, guys, have a great week, and I will get more helps up soon. Bye.